How different is it really to plan a trip to Tokyo Disney versus a trip to one of our domestic parks? Well, pretty different actually. And I'm not just talking about flights and time changes. I'm talking about navigating the parks as a whole, which is what we're going to be doing today here on DFV Guide. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. So I just got back from Tokyo Disney. I took a trip that I've been planning with my friends for a long time. And here on the channel, we're heading across the Pacific Ocean to fill you in on everything you need to know about a trip to Tokyo Disney, from its dining to its attractions, its resorts, and all the details in between. I know how difficult it is to plan to go someplace you've never been, and we're going to try to answer all your questions today. Now, even if you're not planning on heading overseas anytime soon, today's video is still going to be a lot of fun and super different and filled with lots of videos and pictures to give you a taste of the Tokyo Disney scene. And if you want to keep the ball rolling, be sure to scan the QR code you see on the screen now, or head to disneyfoodblog.com/Tokyo for a free guide highlighting the key differences you're going to find in the Tokyo parks versus what you're going to find back in the States. All right, let's start with the 101 stuff. What can you expect from a Tokyo Disney trip? I'm so glad you asked, because I love talking about this stuff. Tokyo Disney is made up of 2 parks, Disney Sea and Disneyland, 5 hotels, several partner hotels similar to Good Neighbor hotels, and the Ikspari shopping district. Okay, Ikspari isn't exactly a part of the Disney scene, but it's still only a quick walk or monorail ride away from the resort area. Now, before you ever land in Tokyo, you're going to need to download the free Tokyo Disney Resort app. If you've been to the Disney parks over in the States, this app is a lot like the My Disney Experience app for Disney World and the Disneyland app for Disneyland. This is going to be how you'll check wait times, purchase and download theme park tickets, use their line bypassing services, which we're going to talk more about later on, keep all your important Disney trip reservations in one place, and manage several other key factors of your trip. Now, in the past, there have been folks who have had a hard time downloading this app the day of their trip. I downloaded the app before I left because I wanted to study up on things as best I could before heading out. But the friend I traveled with downloaded it when we were in Tokyo, and she didn't have any issues. That being said, it's still good to download this app before your trip to familiarize yourself with it so that you're not trying to cram all that Tokyo Disney app knowledge on the day of your visit. Now, how to pack. It's time to dust off the old suitcase. Japan's seasons are very similar to ours. So when it's spring weather here, it's spring weather there. So kind of think middle of the coast, right? They get snow, but they also have really hot summers. You can always check your weather app to get a better idea of Tokyo's extended forecast and pack accordingly. But just keep in mind, if you're traveling to Japan during the summer, things are going to be hot and humid, and wintertime's going to require you to pack a nice toasty winter coat to bundle up in. Speaking of hot and humid summers, the Tokyo sunshine is no joke, so be sure to pack sunscreen and keep it safe and sound in a clear Ziploc bag so it doesn't accidentally spill out and get all over your clothes. Trust me, it happens. You may also want to invest in a UV umbrella, which you'll quickly realize is the accessory of choice around Tokyo Disney parks. But only if you don't mind carrying a UV umbrella around all trip long. Otherwise, apply and reapply sunscreen frequently to keep from getting those burns. Now, aside from your typical theme park attire, you're also going to need to remember to pack your passport, your power banks, your USB cables, and of course the correct currency. By the way, when it comes to electricity in Japan, they use 100-volt plugs, and here in the States we use 120-volt plugs. So you actually can use the same plugs that you use here in the States over in Japan. It's just not going to charge your phone as quickly as it does here. But you can also use an adapter too. You can get an adapter on Amazon or box stores that will help you charge up a little bit faster. Now, while you can pay with a card almost anywhere in Tokyo Disney, you're going to need to carry plenty of yen with you, since many other places outside the Disney bubble prefer cash only. You can usually use a card almost anywhere, but they're not used to it. People do tend to use cash a little bit more often. You can exchange dollars for yen at your bank ahead of time, but it's probably going to take a little time before the transaction goes through and the yen is safely in your pocket. I usually have to order yen before I go to Japan. Now, ATMs are available in Japan, so you can wait and get money out when you arrive if you'd like. I always have about $100 worth of local money when I get to a new country just to cover any bases, so I don't accidentally wind up stranded somewhere with no money to help me out. It's also important to know how much yen is actually worth, so you know how far you can stretch your dollar. Currently, $1 US is about 151 yen, so that's going to take some math on your end. Fortunately, there are smartphone apps out there that that can help bridge that gap for you. I definitely used currency converter apps when I was in Japan because I have too many times paid way too much when I'm at flea markets over there. And since we're on the subject of money, don't forget to let your bank know that you're planning a trip to Japan before you start booking things, and your credit cards, by the way. Otherwise, you're liable to have your card shut off if your bank detects suspicious spending activity for a place you've never been before. So let your bank know if you're going to be using a debit card over there. Let your credit card companies know if you're going to be using a credit card over there. Let's talk flights, okay? One of the most intimidating parts of the whole overseas thing is actually getting there. So let's talk through that for a minute so you know what you're getting yourself into and how you can make your experience a lot less intimidating when it's your time to fly. The main thing you're gonna wanna consider when it comes to booking a flight is the cheapest time of year to travel from the US to Japan. Off seasons for Tokyo tend to fall around the months of November, January, February, and March. But if you wanna keep a closer eye on flight prices to see if there's a chance of them dropping even lower, smartphone apps like Hopper and Skyscanner can let you know when prices for flights drop, so you can jump on those savings when you get the chance. The next thing you're going to want to consider is how many connections you're willing to deal with and how long those connections are going to wind up being. Sometimes flights to Japan can have overnight layovers where you'll wind up paying for further accommodation. Then there are the flights that could have shorter connections but maybe be more of a budget option where you're going to be on board for a long haul, as in 12 to 14 plus hours. Be sure to pack things in your carry-on that'll help keep you entertained and occupied, so think chargers for phones, tablets, lots of pre-downloaded movies and books and video game consoles, or whatever else you can think of that'll help kill a lot of time. And while most flights will have Wi-Fi now, sometimes it's broken. That's something that I learned on this trip to Japan. The Wi-Fi was broken in my plane, so I basically just had to make do with what I had because I had planned on getting the Wi-Fi. So heads up on that, you might want to download a few more shows than you expected. Now, when you arrive at the airport, whatever airport you're landing in, Narita or Haneda, you're gonna have to go through customs. What customs is gonna want you to do is scan a QR code so you can fill out your information digitally and not add another person to those long lines. While you don't have to scan the code and you can just get in that customs line to fill out your info the old-fashioned way, I'd recommend the QR code method 1000% because it's going to save you a lot of time and keep you from having to wait in those super long customs lines that'll make you fill out all that information by hand. And finally, brace yourself for the jet lag. Just to put things in perspective for you, Japan is about 14 hours ahead of the US if you're going off Central Time. So if it's 1:45 p.m. Central Time, it'll be 3:45 a.m. in Tokyo. On that first day you land in Tokyo, try to keep yourself awake until around 9 p.m. Then try to get as much sleep as you can. There's a good possibility your internal alarm clock is going to tell you to rise and shine at like 4 a.m., but this is still going to help you reset and get your sleep schedule on Tokyo time. I personally always find it a lot easier to go west than to go east, so getting to Tokyo and dealing with jet lag was a lot easier for me than flying back from Tokyo and dealing with jet lag once I got home. Now, if you happen to have some wiggle room for your trip, try to build your first official day in Japan with jet lag in mind so you don't push yourself too hard from the get-go and wear out immediately on day one. I kind of had the perfect situation on this recent trip because I landed at about 4 p.m. in Tokyo, so I really only had to keep myself awake for about 4 more hours. All right, are you ready to go to Tokyo Disney? Yes, of course you are. Well, now what? Now it's time to start riding those state-of-the-art rides. There are potentially multiple ways to wait in line for rides. The first is the most basic, just getting in a physical line for a ride like you would anywhere else. Easy enough. The second is the standby pass, which is like a virtual queue. Currently, you don't have to worry about these passes for rides. We'll get to that in the next point, but there's always the chance they'll be reinstated for not just rides, but also super popular quick service restaurants and gift shops too, especially during those busier times of the year or on the weekends. Standby passes are basically a way for Tokyo Disney to manage capacity when something's really popular. Then you've got your passes that work like individual lightning lanes in Genie Plus. Disney's Premier Access Pass allows you to pay for a return time for one of the popular Disney rides or shows in the parks. Just like an individual lightning lane, you do have to pay per person per single ride through for these highly coveted attractions. But unlike an individual lightning lane, you can pay for however many Premier Access Passes you want in a day. You can even purchase the same Premier Access Pass over and over again if you want to. You just have to make sure that it's either been 60 minutes since your last purchase or you've gotten the chance to use your previous Premier Access Pass already. Finally, there's the new 40th anniversary priority passes, which are free for guests to use and work similarly to Disney Genie Plus, except it's free. You won't be able to book Premier Access rides through the priority pass option, but you will still be able to book other rides to bypass the main lines, and you can even book the same ride again if you want to. Keep in mind that since these priority passes are labeled as a 40th anniversary specialty, that could mean this service might switch back to being a premium one after the festivities wrap up. So just stay on your toes and know how to access these line skipping passes before the trip so they don't end up throwing you off guard with any last minute changes. I will say that those priority passes book up real fast, so you might want to kind of make your choice early in the morning, and then maybe not will you get another one after that. But don't snooze on that, those book up quickly. So you're definitely going to want to see what's new in Tokyo Disney. One of the biggest theme park expansion projects will be hitting the Tokyo Disney scene on June 6th, 2024. Fantasy Springs will be Tokyo Disney Sea's 8th port, bringing 3 new lands to that park straight out of Frozen, Tangled, and Peter Pan. And each of these new lands is going to have rides and restaurants, gift shops, and all-around highly immersive theming. This is the biggest development at Tokyo Disney Sea since the park's opening in 2001. So to say it's going to be a big deal is a massive understatement. It's going to be momentous. To get inside Fantasy Springs and go on the new attractions there, you'll either need to snag one of the free standby passes or pay for the Disney Premier Pass for the eligible attractions. But we'll learn more about the exact details later on as Disney Sea gets closer to opening up those Fantasy Springs gates. Now, not every Tokyo Disney show or meet and greet is as easy as getting in line and walking into the venue. For some entertainment experiences with limited capacity, you're going to need to try your luck with the entry request system. I know, it sounds intimidating, and it really is different than how the States handle Disney shows, but because these entertainment experiences are so popular in Tokyo, the demand can be outrageous. Not every show or entertainment experience uses entry request, but here's a list of everything that does, per the release of this video. Entry request is subject to change, so be sure to check on the Tokyo Disney website ahead of your trip to see which shows will require you to use this system. So here's how entry request works. It's basically a lottery system that you'll find on your Tokyo Disney app after you enter the park. You can submit your request under My Plan on the app and choose the show you're wanting to see. You can request each of the shows and experiences listed, but you're only allowed to put in one request per show per day. Once you select which experience you want to request entry for, you'll also select the time frames that work best for your group. You're allowed to select multiple time frames, which I highly recommend doing for a better chance at becoming one of the chosen few. Now here's where things get cutthroat. Once you select the request button, your app screen will tell you one of the following things. Either A, it'll give you your designated time to arrive back at the show, which means hooray, you did it, you got in. Or B, you'll get this pop-up message saying, we are sorry we could not arrange the experience you requested, which means, to put it bluntly, you're not going to see the show that day. Because this is a lottery system. There's no secret strategy for getting into one of these shows. It's just luck. Fortunately, the parades and nighttime spectaculars don't have entry request currently, so you can still stake out a spot early for those, just like back in the USA. But my best advice for actually getting the show you put in an entry request for is to arrive right when the park opens, giving you the chance to put in requests for as many showtimes as you can to help increase your chances of getting selected for one of them. It's also worth checking to see if one of the lottery system shows will actually have free seating for their first show of the day, which can happen on occasion and means you wouldn't have to stress over the lottery system altogether, but you would need a rope drop. The lines for that free seating can get super long if it opens up for all guests, so if you want to prioritize that, line up an hour or so in advance for that particular show to help guarantee your spot in the theater. Okay, let's take a breather from all that confusion and try to get around Tokyo. If you're traveling from overseas, you're not going to have your own car at your disposal, so it's good to get a feel for what transportation you will be relying on in and around the Disney bubble. In Tokyo, locals tend to rely on trains and buses to get them from place to place. You can find out which transportation stations are nearest to the Disney scene by checking out the Getting Here section on the Tokyo Disney website. The most important thing to remember, though, is that whatever line you're on, your goal is going to be to get off at the Maihama Station, which is the closest station to the Tokyo Disney Resort. Once you're inside the Tokyo Disney area, you can rely on getting around from park to park and resort to resort on the monorail system. Yep, that's right, Tokyo Disney's got a monorail too, but this one works a little differently than the ones back home. Because of the laws in Japan, which state that any public transportation system that uses more than one station stop must charge a fee for all passengers, the monorail does cost yen to use each day. A single ticket per ride for adults will cost you 260 yen, or you can invest Fast and a Day Pass, which are available from ticketing machines at all stations, and come in some super cute designs too, which many folks love to collect. If you're boarding the monorail after getting off at the Miami station, there are 4 different stops that'll be made along the circuit. The first one is the Tokyo Disneyland Station, which will also get you close to the Tokyo Disneyland Hotel. Next is the Bayside Station, which will drop you off near other Tokyo Disney hotels. After that is the Tokyo Disney Sea Station, which also puts you near Hotel Miracosta, and then the monorail will loop back around, putting you back at the resort gateway near Miami once more. Next, let's talk hotels. Staying in a Tokyo Disney hotel is fabulously stressful. But before I get into the pros and cons here, let me introduce you to our hotel cast. If you're wanting to stay at a Disney-owned hotel, you've got 5 options, and they're broken up into categories just like the Disney World resorts over in Florida. First, you've got your one and only value resort, the Tokyo Disney Celebration Hotel. The Celebration Hotel has lots of character and whimsy and a surprisingly popular table service location, but it's also kind of the oddball out of the group because it's the only Disney-owned hotel you're not going to be able to reach just by hopping on the monorail. Instead, the Celebration Hotel is over in the Shin Urayasu area, which is about 20 minutes away from the Tokyo Disney parks. Fortunately, there is complimentary shuttle service that'll take you over to Tokyo Disneyland and Disney Sea each day. Much like hotels back in the States, how much you pay for a room all depends on the style you choose and season you're traveling during, but rooms at the Celebration Hotel typically cost in American dollars around $200 to $400 per night. I know, it's still pretty pricey to stay in that value resort, just like back home. But Tokyo Disney also has good neighbor hotel options and official hotel options, which actually aren't official Disney hotels, but I guess they're good neighbor plus kind of hotels that can offer you a cheaper price point while still keeping you close by the Disney scene. You can check these hotels out on the Tokyo Disney website via the Other Hotels tab toward the top of the page. I've stayed in the Sheraton Grand Tokyo Bay several times and I really like that one. Then there's Tokyo Disney's moderate resort, the Toy Story Hotel, which actually just opened up back in April 2022. Reservations for the Toy Story Hotel book up fast, and if you want to eat at one of those Toy Story themed restaurants inside the resort, you can only make reservations for them if you're staying as a guest there. Rooms at Toy Story range around $400 to $500 plus per night. The last 3 Tokyo Disney hotels are all deluxe resorts. The Tokyo Disney Ambassador Hotel pulls its inspiration from the golden age of Hollywood, so lots of Art Deco design meshed with familiar Disney characters. The rooms here are themed around popular Disney characters like Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and Stitch. Out of your deluxe resort options, the Ambassador Hotel will be your cheapest of the 3, with prices as low as $500 per night or as high as $3,000 per night if you decide to get the real bougie rooms. Tokyo Disney Sea Hotel Miracosta is all about the thrill of adventure and lets you sleep in a room that's literally inside the Disney Sea Park. We had the privilege of trying out 3 different Miracosta rooms during our last visit, and they were absolutely stunning. First, there's the Capitano Mickey room, which is on the Tuscany side of this Italian-themed resort. These rooms have been recently renovated with a fun, subtle Disney character theme, and they feel very opulent as well. One of my favorite touches here was actually going on from up above. Yeah, I'm talking about that circle of constellations and Disney-themed constellations at that, filling up a good portion of the ceiling. Very cute. Then we got to crash in a room over on the Venice side, which had a lovely view of Disney Sea's Palazzo canals. The design of this room was very romantic, warm, classy, and had these wooden headboards featuring the townscape and a gold-colored couch with lots of intricate patterns and swirls. This was also obviously a pull-out bed. And finally, we snagged a Porto Paradiso side room, which had a partial view of Tokyo Disney Sea's Show Lake, where those main nighttime spectaculars take place, and the daytime spectaculars too. This room had a very familiar feel to the ones on the Venice side, only the headboards were made of a swooping fabric and adorned with an SEA medallion, which made me feel like a genuine official SEA member, of course. Now, the 5th and final Disney resort here is the Tokyo Disneyland Hotel, which has a very Victorian-esque look to it while also spitting you out right at the front gates of Tokyo Disneyland Park. If you've been following us on Instagram lately, then you've probably seen us posting about how awesome the room theming is here too, since we also shelled out the cash to stay in 3 of these rooms as well. So let's take a quick peek into each character-inspired room in Tokyo Disneyland Hotel. Our first room was the Tinkerbell Hotel room that makes you feel like an honorary member of Pixie Hollow. Here you're going to find things like flower lamps, brass twig and acorn drawers, a table made out of a giant coin, screw, and button, and lots of bright, earthy coloring that will basically ruin you for all other hotel rooms from here on out. I personally love the little blueberries on the beds and on the TV stand. Room number 2 was the Alice in Wonderland room. For anyone who wants to feel like they've fallen into a rabbit hole and inside a topsy-turvy realm, this is yours. This one's like sensory overload with a Mad Hatter lamp, a Queen of Hearts bedding and headboards, and White Rabbit bureau with feet, a clock, and carrot details, Alice's dress lampshades, and Tweedledee and Tweedledum accents. And finally, room number 3 was the Beauty and the Beast themed room, which is the biggest and most detailed character room of the bunch that we stayed in. Expect to find library wallpaper in the front entrance hall, stained glass details on the bathroom doors, Belle's dress ruffles as the bed skirt, Cogsworth and Lumiere silhouettes in the main purple wallpaper, and the Sultan Ottoman at the desk. So much more. The resorts that neighbor with the Tokyo Disney parks can also get as low as $500 per night during non-busy seasons toward the middle of the week, but if you're visiting around the holidays and on the weekends, the most expensive rooms here can jack up to $5,000 per night. So I stated that at the beginning of this point, Tokyo Disney hotels can be majorly stressful. So why is that? Well, it's because they book up so fast. Not just the rooms, but the dining areas and lounges too. You can book your room on the Tokyo Disney website, but keep in mind that due to such high traffic, sometimes you'll be greeted with a really funky looking error page, or you'll have to wait in a virtual queue to get in to the Tokyo Disney website. Even then, you should still be able to eventually get into the website. You just might have to wait in the virtual line for a minute or two before you connected back. So hotel room reservations go live on the Tokyo Disney site 3 months before your stay, starting at 11 a.m. Japan Standard Time. So in Eastern Standard Time, that'd be 10 p.m. And it's best to start making those reservations ASAP, like as in right when the reservation window opens up. In some cases, you might even be able to book your room earlier, as in 4 months in advance. So it's best to check the Tokyo Disney website and get an exact idea of when you're going to be able to start booking away. Just don't forget to tell your card company that you're about to spend some major moolah on an overseas hotel. Otherwise, they might red flag your account and stop your purchase before you can secure that reservation. Now, that happened to me. I was able to book one room, but not able to book the second room because they flagged it because I was making too many purchases in Japan. So that's something to definitely let your credit card know about before you start booking. And if you can't manage to snag a Tokyo Disney hotel room, don't worry. You're not going to have to camp out on the monorail all trip long. There are dozens of other hotel options out there to choose from. Tokyo Disney partners with several nearby hotel chains to give guests more room options and a potentially cheaper price point too. To learn about all your different Tokyo Disney Good Neighbor hotel choices, just head to the Tokyo Disney website, click on the Hotels tab, and choose the Other Hotels option. Now, no matter which Disney resort you choose, each of them have one key benefit in common, and that is happy entry. Happy entry is a lot like early theme park entry at Disney World in Florida and Disneyland in California. Only instead of giving you 30 minutes of extra time in each of the parks before they open the gates for everyone else, happy entry only gives you a 15-minute head start. I know, that's not a whole lot of time at all. So let's talk about the real reason why happy entry is actually good to have on hand, that the website's not going to tell you about. Each day, you arrive at the gates of Tokyo Disneyland and Tokyo Disney Sea, and you're gonna be dropped into a crowd of tons of people, like hundreds, feels like thousands. And when you see this initially, you're gonna think, well, I guess I did all this trip planning for nothing because there's no way I'm ever getting to the front of that crowd. Fortunately, Tokyo Disney's used to these massive crowd levels, and they're pretty efficient about getting people into the parks. Think of it like organized chaos. However, if you have happy entry, each Tokyo Disney hotel has their happy entry line that you can get into. So is that 15-minute head start really gonna do you any good as far as riding rides before everybody else gets in? No, not really, but it will help you skip over the massive sea of people trying to get into the main entrance via a much smaller line that's way less overwhelming. Now, of course, we have to do quite a bit of eating and drinking around the parks. Tokyo Disney is a haven of adorable and super unique food. Recently, we posted a video covering everything I ate during this Tokyo Disney trip if you want to check out the specifics. It's a very long video. But right now, I want to get into the key differences between dining in Tokyo Disney versus the domestic parks because it's really fascinating stuff. First up, y'all need to be aware that food and snack lines can be just as long as ride lines in Tokyo Disney. Not joking. People here take their counter service dining very seriously. Some folks even go so far as to rope drop these locations to make sure they can get in as soon as possible. You can track food wait times via the Tokyo Disney app the same way you can track ride wait times, which is wild. But here's the big game changer. A few weeks after my trip, starting on November 8th, Tokyo Disney did introduce mobile order to its parks, which, oh my gosh, they needed big time. So instead of having to stand in line or grab a standby pass and just wait until it's your turn to dine, you can now select a return time for the counter service you want to eat at most. Okay, maybe not the most. After all, only a few restaurants are available as a mobile order option currently, including Plasma Ray's Diner and Grandma Sarah's Kitchen in Tokyo Disneyland, and Casbah Food Court and Yucatan Base Camp Grill in Tokyo Disney Sea. But something tells me after Tokyo Disney gets the swing of things, there should be more mobile order opportunities coming up for other counter service locations. Fingers crossed. But remember, just because mobile order is now live doesn't mean restaurant demand has gone down. You're going to want to start booking those mobile orders for lunch and dinner right when you enter the park so that you can still get your pick of the crop before they're all booked up. And try to avoid booking around those peak lunch and dinner dining times if you want to have a potentially shorter wait. Now, something else you need to keep in mind, popcorn carts are the superstars. Roasty Toasty popcorn carts aren't just tiny kiosks where you can pick up a tasty snack in Tokyo Disney. They have their own fan base. Lines for popcorn carts can be just as intense as the food lines get. Why? Well, lots of reasons. One, these popcorn carts are super cute, as in they're really well themed and fit in perfectly with the land they're stationed in. They're so cute, in fact, that there are even blind box toys designed to look like the little Roasty Toasties that power the carts, and you can pick those up at the gift shops. Tokyo Disney's drink vending machines have a similar kind of popularity because they're very, very themed too, meaning they also have their own collection of mini blind box toys. The vending machine fandom isn't as intense as the Roasty Toasty popcorn carts, but folks still get pretty starstruck by them and take plenty of pictures next to them. Now, two, the popcorn carts have some super unique flavors depending on which one you're at. Some flavors include, but are not limited to, soy sauce with butter, black pepper, honey, matcha white chocolate. They've got lots of caramel. They've got curry popcorn. They've got milk chocolate. There's just tons of flavors. And refillable popcorn buckets are a super stylish accessory that you're gonna want to show off with your Disney bounding attire. Here's a tip for you. If you happen to purchase a popcorn bucket at a kiosk or shop that doesn't have the flavor of popcorn you're wanting to try, ask for a voucher. You can take that voucher up to the Roasty Toasty cart that actually has the flavor you're wanting to get and avoid having to pay for more popcorn all over again. Now, ready to wash down all that popcorn? Word of warning for you, there are no refills. When you order a drink at a quick service, that's it. That's your drink. What you get is what you get, and you don't throw a fit. Most places will give you your choice of a small or large-sized cup, but the large is still about the same size as a small cup in the States. So more than likely, you're going to want to pack some of your own drinks in refillable water bottles, which you can fill up at water stations for free in lots of locations around the parks. And finally, let's talk about that priority seating over at table service restaurants. Priority seating sounds like you're going to get some sort of VIP treatment, but in reality, it's a lot like the advanced dining reservations in the domestic parks. In fact, advanced dining reservations used to be called priority seating in the States as well. So you can book a priority seat for the restaurant you're most anticipating up to a month out. But as luck would have it, priority seating can book up really, really fast. Are you surprised? No, of course you're not. However, on the day of your park or hotel visit, more priority seating could become available for you to snag at the last minute. You'll be able to book this day of seating either online or at the restaurant itself as long as tables are still available. Now, let's talk about one of my favorite things in Tokyo Disney, the merchandise. They have some of the coolest souvenirs ever. So you're gonna wanna make sure you got plenty of suitcase room to smuggle back a few trinkets. And while the souvenirs aren't quite as pricey as they are in the States, it's still a good idea to budget maybe around an extra $200 for spending money alone. Well, that could end up being overkill for you. It's better to have some wiggle room in your budget to work with rather than feeling like you're coming up short. So what kind of souvenirs can you find around the parks? Well, styles and offerings will vary each visit. Here are some of the key items Tokyo Disney is really big on right now. I already told you all about the vending machine blind boxes, which I'll probably never get over because they are so adorable. But those luck of the draw styled items are very popular in not just Tokyo Disney, but in Japan in general. Over in Toontown, you can find a Gashapon machine, which switches out regularly and had 40th anniversary inspired characters when I was there last. Gashapon machines are fun to try out because some of these featured items can be really hot items for many guests, and you're only limited to purchasing 6 at a time. And get this, some of the Gashapon prizes could even include a priority pass for one of the rides. Not a bad find unless you were really wanting a collectible figurine instead. Aside from the Gashapon and blind box items, other popular merch that you don't have to cross your fingers and hope for the best about include things like lots of character zipper pouches, so many pouches. Those big old character bubble hats that look like they'd be nice and snuggly during the winter but absolutely miserable in the summer. Bento boxes, lots of packaged foods, which could be nice to have on hand if all the counter service lines are miserably long and you just need something to snack on. on. Tokyo Disney also has stores dedicated to stationery sets featuring Post-it flags and paper and envelopes and scrapbooking kits. But if I'm being honest here, my absolute favorite souvenir I got on my last trip is my mini character tray. Now, if you listened to our food video about Tokyo, you know how in love I am with the counter service trays. Each counter service location has a unique tray specifically designed for that counter service, and I just wanted them all. And at Queen of Hearts, you can actually buy a mini version of the tray, and I love it. It's the perfect size for the Food and Wine Festival in Epcot, and I can't wait to use it next year. So that's probably my favorite thing that I bought. All right, now I gotta know, out of the things we talked about today, what do you think would be the coolest part about visiting the Tokyo Disney parks for you? The shows, the rides, the food, all of it? Tell me in the comments, and don't forget to pick up our free Tokyo Disney guide over at disneyfoodblog.com/Tokyo before you head out. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for watching. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.